Angiotensin-neprilysin inhibition in acute decompensated heart failure. Acute heart failure is defined as the rapid establishment of symptoms and the secondary signs in the normal functioning of the heart without previous heart disease. Cardiac dysfunction may be due to alteration of the heart rate or a mismatch between preload and afterload. From frequency represents a vital risk and requires urgent treatment.
Your heart is a muscle that pumps blood around your body. The term heart failure can sound frightening, but it simply means that your heart can't pump blood as well as it should. Heart failure can be caused by a number of things, most commonly a heart attack, high blood pressure, problems with heart valves, or cardiomyopathy, a disease of the heart muscle. Joe has just been diagnosed with heart failure. Because his heart can't pump blood around his body as well as it should, it's causing symptoms in different parts of his body. When blood isn't flowing properly, it can lead to a build-up of fluid or congestion, a bit like a traffic jam. This fluid sometimes builds up in Joe's lungs, leaving him breathless. Fluid can also build up elsewhere in Joe's body. He notices this as weight gain and swelling in his feet, legs, lower back and abdomen. Joe also suffers from
Applications in nursing. 1. Attend the psychological sphere parents and patients. 2. Respiratory physiotherapy, keeping the patients in position, Fowler, exercising the extremities. 3. Perform a physical examination but periodically evaluating the appearance of the signs and symptoms of the disease. 4. Maintain permeable airways. 5. Monitor and strictly observe vital signs.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah with RegisteredNurseRN.com, and in this video I'm going to be going over an NCLEX review of heart failure. This video is part of an NCLEX series over the cardiovascular system, and in this specific video, it's going to be part 1. I'm going to be covering the pathophysiology of heart failure, the causes, the signs and symptoms, the different types, what triggers it, how it's diagnosed, and things like that. And I'm going to be giving you some clever mnemonics on how to remember this material for NCLEX and your nursing lecture exams. And in the next video, which will be part 2, I'm going to be covering specifically the nursing interventions and the pharmacological aspect of heart failure, which is another important part that NCLEX will test you on. And then after you watch this video, be sure to go to my website, RegisteredNurseRN.com, and take the free NCLEX quiz that will test you on this material. And a card should be popping up so you can access that. So let's get started. First, let's start out talking about what is heart failure. Heart failure is where the heart is too weak to pump efficiently. And because it can't pump efficiently, what happens? It can't provide the proper cardiac output that your body needs to maintain its metabolic needs. So what's really happening with heart failure is that heart muscle has either messed up with how it can contract and pump.
Pros and cons. Pros: treatment. Position, semi-Fowler, oxygen, physical activity reduction, sedation, hydromineral balance, restrict leakage, diet, hypercaloric and low sodium. Cons: symptoms: respiratory difficulty, tachycardia, galloped crepiting stertors, edema, hepatomegalia, elevation of venous pressures, jugular injury.
Large. And diastolic is a general term for excess fluid accumulation without enlargement or weakening of the heart. One of the most common causes of heart failure is heart disease or cholesterol buildup, which can cause a heart attack and therefore damage and scar tissue to the heart muscle, which creates abnormal hemodynamics or function of the heart that has to change over time to compensate for the damaged area, and that's called remodeling. There also are hormones that are activated in that setting that create additional fluid retention in the body. Because the heart function is not working appropriately, the output of blood is not normal, the body compensates by retaining fluid, acting as if the heart was dehydrated in terms of low blood volume. But in reality,
issue applied in Ecuador. Acute heart failure syndrome is an entity with high prevalence and is the most common cause of hospitalization in elderly patients. It has a poor prognosis with a high in-hospital mortality that reaches 13% and 40% per year. Is responsible for prolonged hospitalization and high rate of hospital readmissions.
Sir, this much blood to sustain this much activity. And this can change, so like if you start working out or something, your demands might go up. And your heart can accommodate for that and start pumping more blood to that body to meet those new demands. Heart failure describes this condition where the heart can't meet the demands of the body. So at any given time, the heart's not able to pump enough blood to meet the body's demands. And there are essentially two types of heart failure. The first one we call systolic. It's the same concept with your heart. When those muscles contract, they squeeze the blood, and that's how you eject blood to both your body and your lungs. With systolic heart failure, since your heart muscles are smaller,
Conclusion. Heart failure sometimes occurs when the heart muscle does not pump blood as well as it should. Certain conditions such as narrowed arteries in the heart or high blood pressures progressively leave the heart too weak or stiff to fill and pump effectively.
of blood each minute, milliliters per minute, which is almost 5 liters per minute. So notice that not all of the blood was pumped out, right? And the stroke volume is only a fraction of the total volume. The total volume might be closer to 110 milliliters, and 70 milliliters is the fraction that got ejected out with each beat. The other 40 milliliters kind of lingers in the left ventricle until the next beat, right? In this example, the ejection fraction would be 70 milliliters divided by 110 milliliters, or about 64%. A normal ejection fraction is around 50 to 70%. Between 40 to 50% would be considered borderline, and anything about 40% or less would indicate systolic heart failure, because the heart's only squeezing out a little bit of blood each beat. So in our example, if the total volume of the